hyper song. Here's the chapel hidden in smoke. Oh yeah. Okay, I think I'm live. Welcome everybody. We're starting a little bit early. Just making sure I have all the technical details ironed out. But yeah. A little quieter. Actually, that should probably be loud for when we have guests, but I'll mess with that at that time. Yeah, so what are we doing today? We're doing a bunch of stuff. It is the 5-year anniversary show of the Clockwork Game Design Podcast. Yeah, I'm just figuring out a few things. The show's not quite officially begun yet. In about 10 minutes, we'll have our first guest on, Stephen Hutton, and we'll talk about, I think he wants to talk about his game, but I think he had another topic he wanted to talk about as well. Just figuring out a couple things real quick. Okay. Cool. So yeah, I'm really excited about the list of people that we've got coming on the show today. We've got Stephen Hutton, we've got Cast Pixel, Dan Cook of Triple Town and Spry Fox fame, Kyle Kushtel, who's been on the podcast recently, Raph Koster, Richard Terrell, who's been on the podcast several times. Yeah, so it's gonna be a good time. I'm trying to think what I should really start with. There's also going to be times for call-ins, so I'll let people know if anyone wants to call in. You can just, give me your Discord information, and I can, patch you in, and yeah, we can do that, and that'll be good. What else do I have? We don't. This, that, and yeah, that should be good. Yeah, so for a lot of the stream, I'll just have, like, whatever someone's talking about, I'll just take notes on it or show links of what they're talking about. Or obviously, if they are also doing video chat, we'll pull up a window with them within video chat. And, yeah, I think that's about it. So, for those of you who have joined already, how's it going? What's new? I've been working on Gem Wizard's Tactics. It's coming really, really well. I put a new GIF in the what's it called, in the intro. My brain's still warming up. That's the other reason I wanted to start early, is to kind of like get my brain moving. I also can't decide if it's hot or cold in here, but yeah, we'll get it all working. Yeah, Gem Wizards has been going really well. I just wrote a new article, actually. Game modes that are planned. And this also has this little GIF, which has this new intro sequence. I think is going to help players. And this is just the beginning. We're going to make this a lot better. But this is one little detail I liked about the warping in. It does like 2 units, and then it's like, this is just purely aesthetic, but it's just like unit. Does all the rest really fast. I need to mess with the timing of that, but you see? And it has a cool little sound effect with it and stuff. Yeah. I wonder if... I think it's actually better if the enemy factions don't warp in that same way. It feels like they've just been there and you're warping in, sort of. Why are you warping in? Video games is the reason why. Yeah, so I've been improving my setup here. I've got another computer over here so I can open things up without disturbing the rest of my setup. So that's good. Not sure exactly what I'll use that for. It's just a laptop, but seems like it would be a helpful thing to have. Yeah, so let's see. I'll ping Steven. and we can bring him on whenever he's ready. Ideally, if this was like a real show, I would have like a producer who was on top of getting the guests ready to come on. But anyway, we can stop the creepy music now. Hello, Stephen. Okay, cool. You are here. So let's. I'm gonna start a call with you. Okay. Do you want video or voice? Because we can just. I think it just works like you can start the voice. It's fine. Okay. Cool. This is good because this will help me figure out my setup for video. Pop out. Loop. There he is. Can I hear you?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Beautiful. All right. This is working out well. Boom. And then I can bring you over here. And then it's like we have like a real thing going on. Look at this.
Cool. I have to mute the stream. I'm sorry.
What's that?
There we go.
There you go. Boom. I'll make us like the same size. So it's not... in fact, I should be bigger, probably. Not than you, just bigger in general. Okay. Well, welcome, Stephen. Thanks for joining me on my show.
I'm like very, very happy to be here.
Well, let me put on headphones also. That's a good idea. Can you hear me?
Yes, just fine.
Okay, great. Cool. I think it's all good. People in the stream, let me know if the audio sounds weird or you can't hear something or you hear something too much or whatever. Tribound, Brett, welcome, welcome, welcome. All right, everyone says it sounds good. So Stephen,
hello.
I wanted to talk to you about hexwork, but then I feel like we had another topic in mind that you were thinking of raising, right?
Maybe not necessarily raising, but I was just wondering before the stream started what you wanted to talk about. But I think hexwork is a good place to start.
Okay.
Especially since we're both, you and I are both working on hex-based games.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, squad-based, turn-based, single player, right? Yours is entirely designed for single player.
Yep. Yeah.
No, they have a lot in common. So give me the let's say we don't know anything about hexwork. What is it, firstly, and then after that, I'll have a follow-up question about why you wanted to make it in the first place.
Sure. Okay. So it's going to be a turn-based tactical game. I've linked a little GIF into the Discord chat if you want to maybe show people what it looks like in its very, very early state.
Yeah,
it's a turn-based tactical game on a hex grid, naturally, because why would you choose anything else?
Mm-hmm.
It is kind of my attempt to make a turn-based game that doesn't end up annoying me really quickly. Like anybody, I really liked playing the new XCOM. It came out and I played a gajillion hours of it, and I just sort of got annoyed. I was like, I keep hitting these like points of really high impactful randomness, or I'm just like, I feel like I'm crawling across this map really slowly, and I keep running into dumb stuff, and I'm like, this basic premise of like, hey, you've got a tactical thing with a little squad of guys there's so much potential there, and the same pitfalls come up over and over again. So that's kind of the deal with hexwork, and I wanted to do like a kind of a roguelike structure with it, similar to FTL or something. I've got a lot of ideas about how that's going to work out, but we are a long way from implementing those because I guess taking a page out of Lemon's book, I'm trying to get to a point of the core basic, like moving your units around and stuff is fun and satisfying.
Yeah, that's an interesting one.
Before we move on.
That's a really interesting topic, and actually that's something that at 2 Cast Pixel is going to come on and we're going to talk about like what a totally different, like the arcade sort of idea of like in arcade settings, how that's such a different, there's such different values than there are for something like this, like a turn-based war game that's one player, that's like really supposed to be really deep and stuff. And I always wonder, like, how fair is it to require a game like this to be instantly fun, or like something like a board game or something? because like I feel like that's hard. I feel like that's really. I wonder, like I sometimes I wonder, like, is that really like a fair criteria to ask of such a game? Um,
I'll say this: when I first started making Hexwork, uh, it was not fun right out of the gate. Uh, like there was a little novelty of like, oh, I made this, and look, my guy, he moves, which is
mhm.
always, no matter how many games you make, the first time you get something responding to input, there's always a little like, oh, I did that.
Yeah,
But that wears off pretty quickly, and then you're going, what's the actually fun about this?
right.
Uh, and we've been into states in the past where it's been kind of fun, and then I make more changes and it falls out of there. Um, right now, I'm still taking it on faith that it will become fun based on, some of my theory of like, oh, if I do this and this and this, it should work out to be fun. But
Well, that's
yeah,
one
I
of the.
don't think it's fair to accept that
Okay, yeah,
as
I'm
a
glad.
standard. Is what I'm getting at.
Right, and it's also weird because it's like, well, at what point, because like obviously when you first write your first like 10 lines of code or whatever, and you just have this little square that can move around, you know what I mean? Like your first hour of work is not fun. So like, at what point are we really saying is like the beginning at which we're so expecting it to be fun? And I also think that like all game design, all create game creation has that element of like leap of faith. It's like unless you're just cloning something, there's always going to be like this question mark, this like unknown thing where you're just sort of like, I'm hoping that this will work out, and also I have a vision for how this will work, but you never know until you really try it. And sometimes I feel like it can take a year, 2 years of development before your vision starts to come together. Maybe there's some point at which it starts getting silly and you're just like, okay, you need to really move on. I think I probably hit that point with Escape the Omnocronom. But it's also hard to say, like who knows, maybe another 6 months of that hit working on that, and it could have really come together.
Yeah, I agree with all of that. In my day job, I'm a DevOps guy. I'm a productivity engineer at Ubisoft, and we have a whole philosophy of work there, which is about speeding up the number of tries. So Hexwork has been very much like that for me, where it's like I know it's not going to be fun right away. So I've been trying to write the code and do all the design work and the production part of game design in such a way that I can really quickly try new things. So for example, for like a month I didn't work on it, and I couldn't figure out why I had no motivation. And I realized it's because it hasn't been fun in like a year and a half. Every time I've tried to play it, it's just not been fun.
Mm-hmm.
And so I puzzled over that for about a week, and then I thought, I'm just gonna turn the damage way up, just because that's why it feels just kind of stodgy.
Mm-hmm.
And fortunately, I was able to do that really easily because of everything I just said. And as soon as I did that, I was like, oh, this feels way better. And it's
Mm-hmm.
still not fun, but I've solved something. And that's kind of been my whole strategy for making this, is just keep making it so that I can quickly make changes and try things, because yeah, like I say, it's not going to be fun right away, and the more experiments you can do, the sooner you can get to something that works out.
Sweet. All right, so let's talk about some specifics having to do with like hex-based tactics squad games, right? This is like this genre that you and I are both working on, and so you identified some broadly speaking, some problems that we both have, I think, with that genre. Could you talk about one problem that, like, XCOM, or I don't know, Advance Wars, or whatever is your sort of model, one problem that those games have, and maybe how you're trying a solution, an example of a solution that you have in your game?
Sure, I can give you one thing. So I think the games that I'm probably drawing the most inspiration from for this would be Into the Breach, which I'm sure you remember is the 8x8 tactical turn-based game by the guys who made FTL, and a little bit Anthem, which we can maybe talk about later. Into the Breach has you have 3 units on the board, and when they move, they all move at once. You can think of this as initiative order. Initiative order is all of your guys go, and I think it turns the game into a very puzzly kind of an experience. And that was one of the things I wanted to avoid straight away. And I actually spoke in our Discord for about a week with people before I implemented anything. I just gibbered on, how are we going to solve this? Because I don't want players to sit and calculate for, hours and hours. Like, okay, but what if I move this guy first and I move him to this spot, and then I move that guy up behind him, and then I go back to the first guy and he uses his ability to push the second guy back one tile, and it's like, oh my god, what are we doing here? Like, and you're just doing this huge amount of tree search, which can be fun, up to a point.
Sure.
But it's not, as Brett says in chat, very playful. So I spent a really long time working on the initiative system. So it's just kind of random initiative. Units have like a turn length, and they randomly roll their initiative at the start of the game. And then I made sure that they all had different turn lengths, because I didn't want it to be a case where it was like, first my first guy goes, then my second guy, then my third. And it turns out that with each of those guys, if I do a certain move, it's a really strong combo. Right. So I just do that every turn, and I just repeat that combo. It's like, no, the next time they're going to go in a different order, so you need a new thing.
Right.
Now, and that was one like little problem that I had to solve.
So you have this initiative, which is sort of like randomly chosen, and then when monsters act, how random or not is their behavior? Like,
it's pretty random. Yeah, I would say it's very random. Like, we have these little green zombie guys on the screen, and they just kind of go wherever. They're very dumb because I'm not on to like complicated enemy AI yet. But I didn't want to have Fog of War. I think that's kind of a heavy-handed way to add an information horizon. So instead, I wanted a kind of a soft information horizon where it's like, okay, each time an enemy goes, he's just going to move in a kind of a dumb, unpredictable way. And it's going to be... I just wanted to make it just hard enough to plan for the enemy turn that you didn't really feel like doing it.
Right.
Without having to be like, it's totally impossible.
Sure. Interesting. Yeah. So like, what I'm kind of the picture I'm getting of this game is that it does remind me a little bit of Into the Breach, in the sense that it's like, it's a tactics game. Like, Into the Breach is very like tactics, like literally just like the very small, like almost like a one screen worth of tiles, you could say. Although your I forget, how big was Into the Breach? Was it 10 by 10?
It was 8 by 8.
8 by 8. Okay, and yours is what,
really
12,
small.
12 by 11, which I think is bigger.
Something like that.
And better. I counted the bottom as 12, and I think the top, the vertical is about 11.
Yeah, it's 12 by 10, I think.
Okay. Yeah, and to me that feels better. That feels like more space to do stuff with. That's been one of my problems with a lot of hex, or not hex-based games specifically, but like, turn-based tactical games, is the grids are too small and there's not enough space to do anything. And I feel like this has enough room to really like have shapes of things and have formations and things like that are in traditional war games, but are really lacking in what we consider modern tactics games.
Yeah, I agree. The modern tactics games are way too loose. One of the things I spent a really long time working on was how far should guys move? I feel like in a game like XCOM, when your guys can move like 10 tiles, they might as well be able to teleport, right? Like, they can cover so much ground. It's like a huge discontinuity in game state.
Right.
Like, yeah, my enemy's miles away. Okay, now I'm behind him.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. It's like a totally different game state every turn, especially if your grid is overall kind of small. It's like, yeah, I agree. And the other nice thing about your random AI is that you don't have the problem that some games with Fog of War have, where the game starts out and there's fog, but then after a while you produce more units and you send them all over the map, and eventually it's just like you kind of see everything. Outwitters was one of my favorite tactical games, and it had that problem really badly. Sometimes Advance Wars has that problem where it's like, oh, like you're crossing this map, and at some point it's like there's just no hidden information anymore. So is hidden information important to this game, or isn't it? And if the AI actors are always acting randomly, then at least you always have that. Are there any other sources of hidden information in this game?
There's more input randomness coming. One of the things that I'm working on right now is some of these tiles, like the lava and the ice. they have effects when you move across them. Like if you step into lava, you catch on fire. And there are fire effects that can be put on the ground on tiles. And I want to add a small random chance for those kind of things to spread. I just would like... Okay, so this is a good time to talk about why Anthem was a little bit of an inspiration. You can see it on screen, and I've sent you another GIF that kind of shows it a little better. There's a combo feature that was in Anthem that I just wholesale stole for this. When a unit is affected by a status effect, like fire, yeah, like here we go. You can see this gray unit is affected by fire, and I love the combat preview. When you hit him with an ability, everything around him catches on fire as well. And this is something that they had in Anthem. If a unit has a status effect, you can trigger, you can proc it, you can trigger it for a special, like a bonus. And it's really nice when you're playing Anthem, you're fighting some enemy, and then all of a sudden you go, that guy next to him is on fire. Like you just realize it, and it has this wonderful playful quality where you suddenly realize, aha, here's this moment that's arisen organically, and I can take advantage of that and set everyone on fire. And then, the guy who's playing with you goes, oh, everyone's on fire. I can take advantage of that and do my thing.
Right.
It's great. It's super fun. And that's one of the things I wanted in this is, okay, it's my turn again. One of the enemies is gone. And, oh, hey, randomly or semi-randomly, he stepped into some fire, or he walked across a lava tile, or one of the fire just happened to spread and is now adjacent to him.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, oh, cool, I can do a cool thing that I couldn't do. And I wanted this to discourage calculation. Like, oh, the board state has just changed a little in an unpredictable way. But I also just thought it was really nice and playful to be like, oh, hey, I've spotted this thing. And I also think it makes the game a little less tactical and more strategic. Because you have these slightly longer arcs. It's like, I'm going to set these tiles on fire. It doesn't do anything right now.
Yeah. But it's
in
like
a few turns' time, there's some
potential...
state has been built on the board.
Absolutely. Yeah. And also part of that also is just like actions having secondary effects, which is kind of like a way to create like emergence, and that's another thing that's like sorely lacking in tactics games. So many tactics games are just, deplete each other's hit points and, hit each other until one side is disappeared. And the really sad thing about that is that there is this potential for, secondary effects, and that's something that maybe a sort of related idea is the idea of being a little bit skeptical about actor removal. And one of the reasons that I think it's worth thinking about actor removal is that when an actor is just plainly old removed, it's a good example of that, lack of second order effects, and I'm not saying that games shouldn't have actor removal at all, or that it's not appropriate in this game or in my game, frankly, but just that it's a good example of something to think about in terms of, when you do something in a game, what else could it also do, right? So like what side effects that maybe are not useful most of the time, maybe don't have a really important meaning all the time. I like what you said about I'm going to put some fire here, and maybe that's not useful right now. But that I can use that later on.
Yeah. Actually, it's funny you should mention actor removal. One of the problems I had early on with Hexwork is when I was trying to play test it, I kept having this problem where towards the end of a game, I would try to play a full match. And at the end, it was there's one guy left, and I'm just pushing him into the corner as he moves away. And it's just not fun. But at the beginning, I would be like, okay, let me add more guys. And then it's okay, so now the beginning's not fun because there's 20 guys on the map and I'm overwhelmed. And the end's not fun because there's 2 guys and I'm bored. So one of the things I did was I added this new kind of enemy who he spawns other enemies. He summons more zombies. But he does it, his random chance to do it is greater the fewer enemies there are. And I did that because there's just some range of number of actors for any game, I think. And maybe I'm not willing to commit to that as a general principle, but for any game, I think there's probably some range of number of actors, which is kind of right.
Absolutely.
It's most fun in the range between I don't know, 8 and 12 units.
It's
the
going to
board.
depend on the game, right? A little bit, but like there is some range. For every system, there's some range.
Yeah, so one of the things I had to figure out was like, okay, how am I going to keep the game broadly in this range while I'm playing? And yeah, I think that's one thing about actor removal is I allowed actor removal in my game, and I thought about not having that. And my solution was, okay, there's actor removal, but also I just add more actors in as you remove them to keep it in kind of the right space.
So you have a enemy summoner unit, and if you kill that summoner unit, then there isn't more actors getting spawned. Is that how it works?
If you kill that summoner unit, you win.
Oh, I see.
That's the win
great.
condition.
Okay.
He's the strongest guy, and his AI is slightly different, so he kind of tries to hide at the back and summon guys. And then the goal is, all right, just beat that one guy.
Gotcha.
I like it because it's very concrete, like clear win condition as well. It's not like beat all the guys, or it's like just get this guy.
Yeah, no, it's nice and clear, and it doesn't have that like cleanup sort of problem where if you have to kill every single monster, it's like, oh, there's one monster way over there. Gotta spend 2 or 3 turns just moving each guy over to get him. Which
I think it allows some variety in strategies as well. It's like, okay, the standard strategy is I fight my way through their guys, and maybe I whittle them down, and then I push the guy into a bad position and I get him. But it allows for, because that guy's on fire, and that guy next to him is standing next to a wall, and maybe I can just like push him, and then I got the main guy, and I did it, and it was like, oh, that was fun, like because it's there's a binary win condition. I think allows you some extra creativity.
Yeah.
Or it's like, I can just go for the win condition right now.
Right. Yeah. No, I mean, goals in strategy games have this like sort of narrowing effect of like the meaning, like there's all this stuff and it's this big toy and this big like toy box, and then the goal sort of like pinches it into this one thing that really matters, and everything else gets its sort of meaning out of that. Let's catch up on chat a little bit. There's a couple people with some comments. Let's see. Yeah, the zombies, that they're dumb. I like that they walk into fire. I'm still going back and forth on that. I have fire in my game as well. Let's see. Oh yeah, the make it fun first mantra seems closely related to a vertical slice and other proof of concept strategies in order to minimize some sunk costs. Yeah, so it's like it's a little bit related to like it's more of like a production concern than a game design concern, maybe you could say. Like companies that are going to be investing large amounts of money into this, they want to see results right away. But the problem with that is obviously it's like that leads everything into a very conservative direction where we, they're not going to take risks on something. It's like, no, this designer is saying it's going to be great in like a year. Trust him, which, they probably shouldn't take that risk.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, we don't need any like special example for this. You can just look at the games industry in general, and everyone agrees. Like, man, the biggest, most expensive games are very similar, and it's because if you're spending $250 million to make, market, and sell a game, you need to be. It's not so much that you need to know it's going to pay off. It's that if it doesn't pay off, you need to be able to go to your CEO and say, well, all the evidence said it would pay off. Just one of those things, I guess. Not my fault.
Yeah. So the latest question is, if it's a roguelike, how much state do you intend to carry over from one level to the next? Are there levels in this game, do you envision, or is it just like one match and that's it?
I want it to be match, like repeated matches. In a kind of I guess like a Slay the Spire way, but I don't want to do I want to try and bridge the 2-screen problem. So my theory is you will play multiple matches, but they will be on the same map that changes slightly over time. So you'll have your first match on a map, and some of what you do on that map, like, oh yeah, I burned the whole map down. Okay, when you have your second match, it'll be on the same map, but it will be more fire and stuff because, yeah, you did a lot of fire stuff. Or maybe it'll have more ice, or maybe it will have, because of some secondary choice you made, some new type of tile effect will be in place. For example, I created a crystal unit that summons very, very weak enemies. And that's one of the things that I just added as like map flavor. One of the things I added is trees that, spread fire much more easily. Like these kind of terrain effects are things that I thought would be fun to add. Because I didn't want it to be like, okay, you've won on this map, throw everything we just did away, and then start over, fresh new map.
Yeah. Because otherwise, why are we? Well, I mean, I assume you have like a squad, right? Like, do you have a faction or a group of people that are carrying from match to match, or?
Yes. The deal is you pick one guy to be like your leader, and then you pick another couple of guys, 3 or 4. It's probably going to be to go with them, and that's your like squad who will level up over the course of your multiple matches, and they won't level up in terms of stats, but they might gain new abilities, things like that. And yeah, I really wanted it to be this 2-screen problem is something we've talked about for a long time, and I didn't want to leave it totally unaddressed. I'm like, okay, I've got a chance to try and figure something out. So one of my plans to figure that out is, what if 2 screens, but I at least reuse one of them?
Right. Daniel Garcia asks about the shape of the map, square, horizontal. I assume that's just like, that was just sort of what it wasn't necessarily a conscious choice yet, or
it was just what fit on screen. But there is one conscious choice about the map, which is I wanted it all to fit on one screen. I don't like. It's because I'd just been playing Fantasy General, and there's a thing you do in Fantasy General where it's like, oh, I fought these 4 or 5 guys. And the next 4 or 5 guys are like 10 or 15 tiles away. And my guys move 5 tiles. And it's like, okay, so now I've got like 5 turns in a row. If I move my guy forward, I end turn. And I do that for like 7 or 8 turns. And I'm so bored. Like, I've quit missions of Fantasy General because I'm like, I just can't be bothered to move my whole army. Can I just like press a button that says skip ahead? So I was like, right, one screen.
Right.
And I also didn't want to have the information horizon like surprise of, okay, I'm going to move over this hill or into this area of fog of war, and I moved my guy too far forward because there's an ogre there, and like I just suddenly reveal this huge powerful, and it's like, well, I'm going to lose that unit now. And why? Well, because I don't know, gambled that there wouldn't be a guy behind this fog of war. I don't like that.
Yeah, I super agree. I'm adding a little thing here. Here we go. Boom. Now you have some text on the screen saying who this is. Or maybe I put that like. Awesome. Well, is there anything else more in the Twitch chat that you want to respond to?
I'm sure there was something here. Oh, yeah. Unparalleled Dev says, Into the Breach does a good job with spawning enemies each turn to keep the pressure on. And I did want to say that I don't agree, because I can't let any disagreement pass without commenting. But Into the Breach does something slightly different, which is it basically spawns 3 units every turn. So if you kill all 3 units and put a couple of your guys on top of where they're going to spawn, nothing spawns. And you can have a whole match where it's like, yeah, 1 guy spawns every turn and I kill him. And the rest of the spawns are blocked. Alternatively, you can have a match where it's like, oh, well, this was a bad turn. All 3 units are alive. And 3 more units have shown up. And then the next turn, it's like, okay, so I've got to deal with 6 units. And 3 more are going to show up at the end of this turn. And it's like, there's some, like I say, Into the Breach, between 3 and 4 enemy units is like manageable and fun. And 1 is boring. And 9 is a calamity. And it's terrible.
Unplayable.
And yeah, it sucks. Yeah, that's something you've got to be. It took me a really long time to balance the zombie spawning guys to like keep the game in like a fun zone.
Nice. Well, I'm pretty excited. I guess I don't know if you want to talk about like how. So this is just something you do. You have a day job. Oh, somebody asked a question about whether you can say anything positive about an EA game. Is Steven allowed to say positive things? Oh, I see. Because of Anthem? Is that EA?
Yeah, there are positive things to say about that game from a design point of view. I really think, you've mentioned this before, but people think of games as a product and a consumable item more than like a designed art piece kind of a thing. And a lot of the criticisms of big, like expensive games is uh, they come out and people go, oh well, this has got bugs in, or it doesn't have enough content. Like I don't feel like I'm getting my money's worth. And nobody, or not nobody, but it's so rare to see people go, what are the like game design properties of this? Is the game design good? Like
Yeah.
Anthem had interesting loot. It had this interesting combo mechanic. There were so many good things about it from a game design point of view. And I read all of these reviews of the game going like, the cutscenes aren't very high quality, or like they would go, oh, the voice acting is really like high production values and the graphics are great, but there's not enough content. It feels empty. And I'd be like, do you like games?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. No, we don't, it's a literacy thing. Like we do not have, and part of it is we don't have the language to like, even when we're discussing it, like you and I are people who really think about this and talk about this a lot. Like we don't necessarily have super clear language that we can use to talk about what we're talking about. Like I know what you're talking about, because we've talked so much, but if you were some stranger, you know, we wouldn't necessarily have shared language about what the hell we're talking about good gameplay. And so that's something that, and that's not something that any one individual can fix. Like I can come up with my own little like glossary and, you know, all my own little definitions for everything. And you know, and there are people doing that. Brett says we're working on the language, but it's, the thing is like, it's not people like me and Brett. It's society, you know. It's like the whole culture has to gain literacy, as they do over time in various things, and it's just not there right now in terms of games. And so doesn't matter what we, I mean, you know, maybe we can help influence that and help that to develop over time, but generally it's like, it's just, you're kind of shouting into the void a little bit because you're speaking a language that you're kind of making up, you know.
Yeah, I think a lot of this is really the language stuff. It catches on when it demonstrates value. So like input output randomness is one of your own coined phrases, and I hear it from other people, and I see it like you know, mentioned on other game design podcasts or in like random YouTube videos, and I go, oh, I know where that's from. Like Keith brought that up.
Yeah.
And because it's a useful concept, it makes a certain amount of sense to people. And I know that you've moved on from it. You've evolved it a little bit. You don't use input output so much anymore. But when these things, when our new terminology is clarifying, it tends to stick. So I'm not too worried. I think eventually we will get to literacy. We haven't had like a big video games as a cultural thing for that long. It took about
True.
70 years for this to catch on with movies. Like, all right, maybe when we're old men and we're retiring, we'll like finally see some hint of game literacy.
Yeah. Well, that seems like a good place to end it. Awesome. I don't know if you want to send post any links in the chat or anything like that, for Hexwork, if people want to follow the development. I know that you sometimes post things on my Discord, but if there's any
I do. I'm not going to post anything right now because we're not there yet. But maybe when I'm further along in my development, and this has been the project I've stuck with for the longest, so I'm hopeful that I'll eventually finish it. Maybe I can come back on when I've got something more substantial to show.
Absolutely.
And I'll just say thank you for having me on as well. I was pretty nervous about coming on stream, but I've had a wonderful time. This was a really nice chat.
Awesome. Yay. Cool. All right. Well, I'm going to run to do a quick break. Steven, I'm going to let you go. I'll talk to you soon.
See you later.
That was great. So next up, we're going to have Cass Pixel. And she will be coming on soon. I'm going to quickly just take a very quick 2-minute break, and I'll be back with Cass Pixel. So thanks for joining me so far. Be right back. Okay. Am I back? I am back. Bloop. Okay. Thank you, everyone, for hanging out. Wow, 26 viewers. I have never had that many viewers on my stream before. I don't think ever. Thanks for joining me, everybody. So next up, we're going to have Cast Pixel. Let's see if there's anything in the chat to respond to real quick. No one keeps up with my terminology. It's true, I know. Hopefully in 10 years, Info Horizon can catch on. There's nothing online, I think, much about Hexwork yet. That was Stephen Hutton. We're gonna, well, we'll fix that later. Necromancy stream. Yeah, I don't go outside. I just don't do it. I mean, I didn't do it before the pandemic, and now I'm definitely not going to do it. Let's see. Can't wait for your segment, Cast Pixel. Oh, there's Cast Pixel in the chat. Hello. Okay. Let's do this, Cast Pixel. I'm going to start the call. I'm also going to update the thingy thing. Boom. That. Getting Cast Pixel ready. So Cast Pixel, if you don't know, one of the world's best pixel artists, if not the best pixel artist. Just really incredible, amazing pixel artist. I don't know. She'll probably give me a good link that I can look at. Is this join video call? Maybe? Aha! There we are. Can I hear you? I see a frozen... Oh, I hear something.
Didn't work?
I hear something vaguely resembling audio. Okay, I think we're good now. Pop it out.
Yeah.
Bloop, bloop, bloop. All right.
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Where can I pull up some of your pixel
I can't
art?
see you, though.
You can't see me. Oh, what? Oh, you may have to look at the stream to see me.
I will.
Okay.
Will do.
Yeah, I think that's because my camera can only use one source. So where can people see your pixel art, by the way? Where's a good place to go?
My Twitter, possibly.
Okay. Cast Pixel. Yeah, I mean, look at this stuff. Oh my god, it's amazing. So first I just want to introduce, if in case anyone doesn't know you and your work, it's really just amazing. Amazing colors, amazing style. You turned me around on this style of pixel art, because I used to be one of those people who was like, you have to delete the diagonal pixel. Do you know what I'm talking about? Okay. Like when you do like a stepladder thing, like there is a school of thought in pixel art that you're supposed to delete those pixels on the line. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I'm, yeah, and you completely flipped me on that. Like I'm like, no, this looks awesome. This is totally great. So yeah, I don't know if you want to talk about your pixel art career or things that you've worked on, or just introduce yourself.
Okay, so hi, I'm Christina. I do pixel art. Like I studied medicine. I studied to be a doctor. And I don't know, like illustration won me over.
All right, that's all you got to say about it, I guess. I just love your colors a lot. But we also wanted to talk about a game design thing today, right? You wanted to talk about like in an arcade setting, the idea of or this whole concept of like, how fast does your game have to be fun? So let's just ask you, how fast does a game how soon in game development, because you are also a game, you're like, that's the other wild thing about you. You're not just an amazing pixel artist, but you also are a programmer, you're a game designer, you write music. you're like me and that, but better in all the stats, basically.
We do the indie thing, yeah, and I.
Yeah. So tell me how far along should a game be fun in its development?
Ooh, in its development. As soon as possible. Like work with rectangles and programmer art. And make it fun as soon as possible. Like you taught me that, like your book basically, because before I even knew you.
Like we
and then it should be fun. Like,
Sorry, I thought we lost you for a second there. Keep going.
Yeah. I mean, even I like the thing I like most is putting in animations and backgrounds and making it look pretty. And it often like takes time away from like me working on the art. But even I consciously try to like work with like a green rectangle for the player and red rectangles for the enemies or what have you.
Yeah, so there's something that I've been sort of noticing and maybe struggling with a little bit over the last few years, which is video games. So like I think there's like two very different aesthetics when it comes to like board games and like perhaps certain kinds of very like abstract video games. And then there's like video games proper, which have like which are like platformers and shooters and have all the video game sort of trappings of like fighting units and things that you would expect to see in video games. And I feel like if you're anywhere in that field, art and animation and even sound and all these things, these aesthetic things, which me as a person who considers myself a game design systems first kind of person would think aren't that important. It strikes me, just in my own working on things, that actually they're super important and that like they're almost like I don't know. I've been struggling a little bit with this idea that that your game with just green squares and stuff. One, because I think that green squares sort of lack the affordances for someone to sort of feel what they're doing in a way that's kind of important in video games. And to also understand the rules. Like actually sometimes it's very hard when you play those early prototypes of people. It's very hard, even if you know the rules, to grok it, when it's so abstract. And so I don't know. I found myself making art for games way too early recently on purpose because I feel like I don't know. There's something I've been increasingly skeptical of the green squares, sort of like, no art approach in the early phase. And I don't know how this interacts with my other point, which is like, I think it's unfair to require strategy games to be fun so early in their development, or, weird games, not even just strategy games, any game that's like creative and strange. Fun is like, it's like an aesthetic that's like built up and learned over time. Like what's fun in games, like, well, things are fun in games when they're like other games that we've played. We've already been aestheticized to like those things and to like enjoy, to understand that enjoyment. And so when you have some new weird thing, it's very hard to get people to enjoy it at all, but it's especially hard to get them to enjoy it before it's fully itself. That's ideas. What do you think?
I mean, I feel for you. Like I feel you. I understand. I agree. I mean, famously, Lemmings started out as an animation of that tiny 8x8 lemming. So I mean, that's of course, it's a valid way to start. I mean, for me, I mean, I do all sorts of things. Like I do art and code and music, but I struggle with the game design and the fun. So I don't struggle with the graphics. So I can visualize it, can visualize the game as it's gonna be, like 3D and stuff. I can't as easily visualize the fun. So text boxes and green rectangles is more helpful to me, like at this point.
Yeah, that makes sense actually. Because I'm sort of the opposite. I for me, and that might be part of what's going on here, is that like for me, yeah, like I tend to first think of the strategy and the systems and that kind of stuff is where my brain starts. And then thinking of like, oh my god, now I have to come up with like a color palette. Like that's a I have no idea how to even begin to do that, you know?
Yeah. That said, I mean, during a Ludum Dare, it's you have to do everything. So I'm sending you a link on the chat. Can you see it?
Yes, I can. Opening it up.
Would you care to play it?
I would absolutely care.
It's a game I made for Ludum Dare.
Sweet. I'm checking it out.
Seriously?
Right now. Yeah.
Now live on.
Is that okay? Or do you not want me to? I will not play it if you don't want me to. But I will play it if you do want me to. That's my deal.
Like it's, I want you to. It's sort of answering like the I want you to play it. Please do. To the question, how fun should it be on? Like,
okay, Ghost Vac.
This started being fun. Right from the get-go.
Okay. Left and right are control the Ghost Vac. Okay.
Ah. Like it might be fun. Yes.
Oh, I see. I see. Okay. Yeah. So yeah, this is the kind of thing that, like, you're right. Like you mentioned when we were talking about having you on the show that you wanted to talk about games that are like immediately fun, sort of in like an arcade kind of setting, right? And this to me is like such an arcade idea. Like this literally could be an arcade game, like one of those ones. A 3D game in Construct 2? How? Did I lose you, Cast Pixel? Are you still there? Oh, I hear you. Okay, you're there.
No, I'm here.
But yeah, this is super fun right away.
Like I've written a cool.
But yeah, it is a very good example. It's a very good example. Like it's literally one of those like games you would find in an arcade that would like dispense tickets, you know, and you get the tickets and you go and get a prize, like one of those kind of games. Like it's
exactly.
like yeah. And so way is the only way, the only thing they're going to experience. Like they're not going to spend months and months playing this thing. You know what I mean? Like they're gonna have right away with it, and maybe a little bit after that, and then they're probably gonna move on because it's not, you know. Whereas a game that is supposed to be like a game you can live in, you know, like a strategy game that's part of your life, or like one of these, like an Animal Crossing even maybe, just something that's like, that becomes part of your life. Like I'm a tennis player, I'm a chess player, I'm a League of Legends player. Those kinds of things, I feel like the requirement of them having to be fun right away is not appropriate or fair. And this is something I've noticed a lot with bringing games to shows. Like I brought Oro to PAX East in 2016, and it was just interesting bringing a game like Oro to, and I've also brought Escape the Omnocronom and Jelly Bomber and other games to shows. And, you know, I love the idea of game shows, but like, I don't know how well my games would work at a game show. You know what I mean? Like on a show floor.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I guess audio is the best in terms of play, right?
Sorry, can you start that over again? Your connection's a little bit chunky. It's a little bit. Yes, I hear you.
Excuse me.
I hear you, but there's robot voice going on. We got some robot voice. Seems like your connection's not quite. Do you want to just do voice and see if that works better? Sorry, y'all. Having some technical difficulties.
So can you?
I'm gonna restart the call. And let's just start it as a voice call. And see if that's a little bit better. I wonder if you could hear me. I'm not hearing any cast pixels. Say some stuff. Looks like
I'm getting robot voice now as well. So
no, it looks like it's looking okay in terms of my stream. I think it might just be on. Let me check. I mean, it seems like. Let me just check.
So I can hear you now.
You can hear me.
You hear me as well. Yeah.
I don't know.
I'm not sure where we were.
How different kinds of game, in like a setting, and how